What is going on, my Masketeers? Welcome back to the Masquerade. And we are here to talk about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 2. Now, Part 2 literally is only 2 episodes. I say 2 episodes, but it's more like 4. The reason being is because them episodes long as shit. I'm not even going to lie to you. Episode 9 is 2.5 hours long. That is freaking Marvel movie length. Matter of fact, I don't even think the last 2 Marvel films are as long as that. But that's how they're moving. Netflix threw a massive bag at the Duffel Brothers and said, you know what, yeah, you guys and your show really help cement Netflix. And we're going to make sure you guys go out on a bang. So here's a bag of money. Go do what you want with it. Come back and show us greatness. And that's what the Duffel Brothers did. They took that bag of money and they did a whole bunch of madness with it. And it paid off. So what's happening in Part 2? Everything is now coming to a head. The group is still separated, but each group is working towards the common goal. They just don't know that they're working towards the common goal. So you've got the main group that's back in Hawkins, right? Nancy was held by Vecna and he showed her a vision of the future of what's going to happen should all 4 gates open and he's allowed to bring the upside down to their world. He's going for the world domination, you know, fire, brimstone, the whole stick. So clinical villain shit, right? But he gives Nancy a message. He tells her, like, tell 11, tell that bitch, I'm coming for her last. I'm going to burn the world. She's going to watch. Then I'm going to kill her. Clearly, he's still salty about their last encounter when, you know, 11 just fucked his shit up and turned him into a walking crisp. This man is violated so bad. But, you know, he got some cool powers and he got a cool look, even though he needs like aloe vera and Vaseline. But that's neither here nor there. So the gang in Hawkins decide that they're going to kill Vecna. And the one that comes up with the plan is none other than my boy Dustin, because he makes a connection that if Vecna and 11 share the same powers, then that means that they must share the same weaknesses. So he creates a plan in how they can stop Vecna. Now, does the plan go according to plan? That's a whole nother case. But the point is that Dustin is always the man with a plan. And that's why we love him. So that's that group. Then we've got 11 who's back at the facility. She's finally got her powers because she was able to look into her darkest memory and she's finally removed the block essentially. And we find out that Vecna is Henry. Henry is actually number 1, the original, the first of the people that displayed powers, and the entire program is based around him. So all the kids that 11 grew up with from 1 to 11 are like weird versions of 1. They don't really explain how they were able to, you know, replicate his abilities. So I don't know, like, if all these kids are like his genetic clones or like they're his siblings because they did a whole bunch of genetic slicing and like they added like their DNA or his DNA, like to the mothers who are carrying fetuses, or I don't know what they did. Some sci-fi stuff, but they are essentially all products of 1, aka Henry, aka Vecna. So that is the discovery that's made. But then we have another discovery. We find out that Papa, aka Dr. Owens, his whole thing of having 11 go into like the weird dimension, that kind of black space that we see her in before she was able to cross into the upside down, that was all in the guise of getting Henry back. So the entire program has always been about Dr. Owens trying to find Henry and bring him back. And then the whole notion of, you know, we can use these kids to assassinate Russians and get information by looking into the minds of our enemies was all just like a cover-up that he used so that they wouldn't shut his program down, essentially. So you have that. Then we have flipping Joyce, Murray, Harper, who are still in Russia in the gulag. They're doing their thing. They basically are able to escape the Demigorgon, and in them trying to escape the prison, they discover that there is more Demigorgon bodies in the prison laboratory. How they got these bodies again, we don't know. We don't know if they actually were able to open up like the upside down again and retrieve these bodies, or if they kind of were doing experiments on the captured Demigorgon which they had and they were able to create these kind of proto Demigorgons themselves. So it's not really expanded upon too much. But anyway, they leave and they go, and then with the whole whole plan to stop Vecna, essentially, they decide to use Max as the bait to lure him. And while he goes after Max, his body will be defenseless and they're gonna, do what they need to do. So that's the general premise of part 2. Let's get into the good. The good, like always, I'll say this again, the acting is top notch. There's not really much I can say about the acting because like part 1, it's still just like the highlight of the show for me. I feel with part 2, they really amped up the stakes, but not because of the action. It was more of the emotional beat and the possibility of people might die and not everyone's going to make it through. So again, the actors did an amazing job of being able to carry the emotional weight and display a range of emotions with this whole thing. Now, this links to my 2 MVPs of the show. Number 1, Dustin, like I said before, because Dustin is my guy and I feel like he don't get his flowers, but he was really out here doing the most and he is the least physically fit. So Dustin, you was my MVP number 1. But the guy that stole the show from me, especially this season, Eddie. Put this man on a shirt. He gonna need to be on a shirt for a whole nother reason. But Eddie Munson, my guy, he was the truest highlight in this whole season. I feel like the actor was so charismatic and he was able to bring a vulnerability but still be humorous, but not to the point of where it felt like it was forced. And I feel like his growth, even within just 1 season, was amazing. And I like the fact that you really see different sides to one character in such a short amount of time. He was able to honestly capture me. And I feel like he is the best addition to the Stranger Things family. But again, I'm not going to go too much into it. You need to watch it for yourself to see what happens. And then we go to the visual effects. Again, visual effects, Netflix threw a whole bunch of money. So the visual effects are up there 100%. And the one thing which I definitely say, which I like about this season is there's a lot of callbacks to great movies and shows that you grew up loving. Like there's a scene where this really felt like it was pulled out of Star Wars between Luke and Yoda having a conversation in The Empire Strikes Back, where Yoda tells Luke that he's not ready. He cannot go and face Vader yet. But Luke is like, my friends are in danger, I have to go. There's a similar scene with Eleven and Dr. Owens, aka Papa, where he's telling her like, you're not ready. And she's like, I gotta go. So I like that little callback. There's a lot of those kind of little Easter eggs throughout season 4, which I really appreciated. So yeah, that was really it for the good. Let's get into the bad. To be honest with you, there's not really that much bad in part 2. I only have maybe 2 gripes, essentially. And they're more like nitpicks. One, like I said before in part 1, I said that the whole Harper, Russia, the Gulag, it was a waste. That whole storyline, that C plot was just pointless unless the final 2 episodes kind of link and show why it needed to happen. And even though it did, to me, I felt that was it was weak. It was probably the weakest part of the whole series. And I'll tell you why. Because somehow they decided they have to break back into the prison because they have to kill the Demigorgons because that will weaken the hive mind. But the thing is, there's no way that they would know that the kids back in Hawkins are fighting the hive mind. We, the audience, would know that because we're watching it, but they have no idea what the hell is going on. They have no idea because they're literally stuck in Russia. So again, I just thought that was a bit too weak. I just really thought that they didn't know what to do with the parents. They didn't know what to do with Joyce, with Murray, and I don't even know why they even brought Harper back. That guy should have been dead. He should have stayed dead. But for whatever reason, he's here. And I just felt like they just tried to find a reason to make that part of the story work. So yeah, that to me was pointless. And then the second thing was Vecna. Vecna looked visually amazing. For a villain, he's the best villain I've seen, especially for a TV series. He's definitely the best looking villain. The only problem is he is not the big bad that he was set up to be. And the reason why I say that is he's already lost to 11. He lost when he was Henry and he fucked fucking lost as Vecna. The only reason why he wins is more on a technicality. And like I said, I don't want to spoil it because I want you guys to go in there and watch it. But it's more a technicality. That's the reason why he wins. But in all truth, on a 1-to-1 fight with 11, he lost. And I feel like, again, if your villain loses, then already you have a massive problem because now it doesn't feel like they're a threat anymore. And that's the problem. 11 is too strong. I felt like this time they would have found a way to either make Vecna stronger than her or make them even, but that's not the case. She's just too strong. She's not Mary Sue, but she's getting kind of close. And she does pull something that is very Mary Sue-like, very Ray-like, very Ray-like. I won't tell you what it is, but she pulled something where I was just thinking to myself, where did this ability come from? There was no foreshadowing. There was no build-up. She just did it. I was like, come on. Now you guys are kind of pushing it a little bit. And I only say this because what they did before was top-notch. I actually respected the show for going the route it went. But then they kind of got scared and they did a course correct, which I wasn't really a big fan of. So for me, those are like my little nitpicks for the season. Now, my verdict overall, I would say that it was a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed part 1 more because that had more of like the horror elements and a bulk of the show was done in the first part. Part 2, it was good, but I can't lie to you, I expected a bit more. I wanted a bit more bang. And I felt like if it's going to be a setup for the final season, I don't feel like they did enough to where it really elevated the stakes and what could potentially happen. It was more of like, oh, this might happen, but it never did. So it kind of left me feeling to myself, I don't really see the big hype for the final season because the way this ended, it didn't carry enough emotional weight to where I felt to myself, wow, this is going to be one hell of an ending. It was just more of a case of, I hope season 5 is good because season 4 was decent. So that is my verdict. Stranger Things season 4, 7 out of 10. Let me know in the comments below, have you watched it? What did you think? And are you excited for season 5? And I will catch you next time. Peace. Never chase a bitch.